Democracy is built on fairness, freedom, and collective decision-making. Sounds great, right? Until you try to run a business under it. The moment that politics enters the equation, the decision-making slows down, policies shift unpredictably, and businesses are expected to run in a state of uncertainty. Imagine trying to scale a company when rules change in every election cycle. Would you invest millions into an expansion policy as a business owner? If tax policies, trade agreements, and regulation frameworks could be rewritten overnight? Here is the simple truth. Democracy is a nightmare for businesses. And in this breakdown, you are going to see why. If there is one thing that business hates, is uncertainty. And democracy guarantees that uncertainty. Every 2 to 4 years, it doesn't matter what country you live in, the foundations of that business that was created on change. Tax laws change, trade agreements get renegotiated, regulations get reversed. Let's just say that a US startup invests millions of dollars in global expansion, banking on stable trade policies. But suddenly, a new administration imposes new tariffs on key imports. The startup's supply chain costs skyrocket overnight. What was once a profitable expansion strategy turns out to be the actual strategy that puts them out of business. And now they have to go to cost cutting to survive this nightmare. As a business, how do you plan for the next 5 years if your entire plan could be flipped in the next 2? Business thrives on consistency. Democracies promise anything but consistency. Why do you think that large US corporations spend millions of dollars on lobbying the politicians? Their only objective is to try to get some certainty so that they can make long-term investments. So you see, the regulatory system that we created to protect the people actually does not protect the people. It creates this environment where corporate needs to bribe the politicians to understand what the hell is going on for the next 5-10 years. Business prioritizes action over debate. Politicians love to debate. Markets reward speed, efficiency, and adaptability. But democracy, it thrives on slowness. It thrives on discussions and endless bureaucracy. The longer something takes, the longer that politician is going to hold that seat. Governments debate, markets act. And when speed, in times like this, defines success, slow economies will never lead. Let's just say that a company comes up with this groundbreaking AI technology. Instead of just launching, they wait years for government approval because of oversight on some privacy issues. Meanwhile, a competitor in China or UAE does not have to deal with this, so they just go to market. And of course, they instantly capture the entire market. Not only do they make billions of dollars, but they're moving faster with the technology now, while the democratic country is holding hearings, still waiting for an approval. By the time the approval is granted, the market already moved on. Let's just give an example of starting a business. Now, in US, it's a lot easier than a lot of other countries, but if you're trying to start certain types of businesses, it becomes a nightmare. If I'm building a restaurant and I have everything ready to go, why do I have to wait for you to come check it for months? The result is that democracies suffocate their own entrepreneurs, their own innovators. While bureaucrats waste years discussing what could be or should be, other nations are outbuilding, out-innovating whatever it is that we are doing here. In democracies, businesses don't just compete with rivals, they compete against public emotions. A company can have the best product, the most efficient operation, and they can have the most dominant market position, but none of that matters if they fall on the wrong side of the political sentiment. The marketplace is not just shaped by supply and demand, which is economics 101. It's dictated by outrage, media narratives, and reactionary policymaking. A corporation spends years building market share and trust. Then a viral news explodes online. Politicians react with aggressive new regulation, lawsuits, and a bunch of other nonsense. The stock tanks, not because of bad business decisions, not because of a product that does not have great quality, because public outrage caused by possibly the media demanded a political response. Democracy does not always foster free markets. It turns them into battlegrounds of perception. And in a world where outrage moves faster than logic, no business is safe. Democracy in America is not a pro-business system. It's an unpredictable, high-risk environment. Companies are forced to navigate politics as much as they navigate the competition. On March 4th, 2025, President Trump imposed new tariffs of 25% for every single product that comes from Canada and Mexico. Overnight, companies that relied on North American supply chain had to increase their costs and their prices significantly. There were a bunch of businesses that expanded, made plans, trusting the administrative decisions that were made 2 years ago by the Biden administration. And 2 to 4 years from now, all of this might change again. So how do you build a stable global expansion plan or a global supply chain infrastructure when trade policies change every election? So you might be asking yourselves, all right, Duran, then what is the solution? Here is how a business-first government would operate. One that fosters innovation, rewards risk, and builds an economy that outpaces, outlasts, outwins every single time against the competition. 1. Regulation should be proactive, not restrictive. Regulation should be a guide. It should not be a drag. Right now, regulation is reactive. It pushes down entire industries and slows them down instead of enabling them. Regulations are written only after a specific industry has disrupted the market, causing endless legal battles and uncertainty. Just look at the AI regulation. The US government spends years creating all of these rules for this AI industry, while China simply just rolled out a bunch of AI initiatives, not caring about regulation, and now they are moving faster. The solution is regulatory sandboxes for every industry. Before restricting new industries, governments should create safe environments. And in these safe environments, businesses can experiment and innovate without being scared of regulatory backlash. Instead of career politicians deciding on industries that they do not understand or they do not have any experience in, leaders from business and technology world should dictate what regulations should be. They should be the ones dictating policy frameworks. Imagine an economy where businesses move first and regulation evolves alongside them. That's why we should eliminate bureaucracy and have the government actually run like a business. Right now, the government is a bloated, inefficient machine. In any large organization, or even in a small organization, if a department is inefficient and unprofitable, it gets shut down. Look at what happened in Argentina. Look at how many things got shut down in Argentina. They're practicing this. But in our government, inefficiency is rewarded with a bigger funding and throwing money at the problem to fix it. And sometimes they get bigger teams and they have zero accountability. Look at the US Department of Energy with the massive bureaucracy slowing down everything that we need to be able to move forward with our energy needs and requirements. That's a great example. Enough is enough. Government simply needs to function like a lean startup. Abolish these useless agencies and consolidate functions. Use AI and automation for government processes, and implement a customer service model for government. Businesses and citizens should be treated by customers, not subjects. If you go to the DMV right now, nobody is accountable. You can wait as long as you need to wait. Nobody is responsible. Everybody hates their jobs. Nobody is happy. Just look at majority of TSA employees at an airport. They don't care. They're screaming at people. This would never happen in a private business. You will never walk into T-Mobile or walk into Apple and somebody gets to treat you in that manner. A government that functions at the efficiency level of Amazon and with the agility of a new startup could do wonders for all of us in the near future. Another solution is to end the corporate taxes and replace it with growth-based incentives. The problem is that taxes punish success instead of rewarding expansion. Does it make sense that you pay more if your company is successful and profitable? For example, a company like Tesla is forced to navigate tax strategies and to look at offshore investments and offshore production. And they have to do this to remain competitive. But in countries with business-first tax policies, the government encourages the business to invest majority of their profits back into the business, back into the technology, back into expansion, creating more wealth. There should be no taxes for businesses that reinvest into growth. 0% corporate taxes for companies that hire and expand. There should be a performance-based taxation, and the tax should not be just a flat rate based on how much money you have made. It should be based on the different levels of investments and opportunities that your organization has created. And there should be automated smart tax systems. We have the technology for AI now. And all of this could be managed very, very efficiently by AI technologies. In a system like that, nobody would be able to out-innovate us. Business leaders, not lifetime politicians, should shape economic policy. Most government officials have never built a business. They never did payroll. They never took any risks. They never put a lien on their homes to be able to expand. With all due respect, what the fuck do politicians know about business? And yet they are the ones who are making critical economic decisions for this country. The US government tries to regulate big tech and AI industries with all these politicians who don't know this technology, who are not aware of this business. They're not aware of the implications of this business, how it's going to scale, how fast it's going to move. They know nothing. Meanwhile, in countries like Singapore, the government consults business leaders. This is the way that it's supposed to work. You go and you ask an expert. Here is the solution. There should be a business council with legislative power. Every economic policy should be co-authored by a group of CEOs who understand that industry. 2, there should be term limits for politicians. Enough is enough. There should be no career bureaucrats. Government should be ran like a board of directors with specific objectives, milestones, accountability, responsibility. It should not be built with empty promises until the next election. Isn't that what we experienced for the past 5 years? And there should be results-based governance. If a specific economic policy does not work for the growth of the country, it should be eliminated. If a specific expense does not work for the wealth of the people, it should be eliminated. If a department is not profitable, you cut that department. Every single business owner knows this. Imagine an economy where government was not a roadblock, but an accelerator for businesses. And the last solution that I have is government should be investing into innovation. We should have government-backed Moonshot projects. Right now, our government funds welfare, not innovation. We literally teach our people to be lazy, to do nothing, and we are wondering why we have an uneducated, ignorant population. The US government spends over $2 trillion on welfare programs annually. Are we getting less poor? Are we getting more educated? No. Here is what we should do. National AI and quantum computing initiatives. Government should be funding AI projects, and recently the president actually announced such an initiative, and it is so important for the future of our economy. Massive public-private partnerships. The government should invest in industrial expansion, deep technologies, and infrastructure on an ongoing basis. We should not only be relying on corporate capital, we should invest in high-risk, high-reward economic ventures. Imagine if the US could put only 5% of its military spending into innovation. What do you think would happen? It would create the largest economic boom in history. You know what the difference is between giving an entrepreneur $100 million and giving a lifetime politician $100 million? The entrepreneur will double that number. If our government invested in technological supremacy instead of political theater, we would create an economy that dominates the world for centuries. The world does not need governments that restrict growth and innovation. We need governments that unleash it. The future belongs to governments that build economies at the speed of markets, not ones that are stuck to old methods and lifetime politicians. The question is not whether democracy is failing businesses. The question is whether businesses keep tolerating it. And as the market evolves, capital moves and competitors emerge from newly created markets, from more stable systems, the answer might be not much longer.